these up into little circles so that I can be like, it's my scroll.
I don't know if that's what makes a scroll.
What, having
roll
a
of paper?
Yeah, that's what a roll of paper is.
That's literally
right?
all it is.
That,
I kind of want to Google scroll and just
what's
have
the
it say
difference
roll
between
paper.
scroll and paper? Just like it being rolled up into the two. It's the two, right?
It's just like legal sized paper.
I mean,
rolled up from both ends.
It can be longer or shorter. Maybe I want to make a small scroll.
Tiny.
It's
I really
my baby
want. I
scroll.
want a chubby scroll.
Chubby scroll. I want it to be like dummy thick.
A dummy thick scroll.
I want it to be made with like really good paper.
What's really good paper?
I like a 250 pound. Like those are really good. It's like the nice thick stuff. Maybe have like the velvet coating, because that's my business cards are. They like that. And it's like, ooh, I like my finger grips this.
Yeah, I feel like for like books and stuff, that's definitely the case.
I don't like it. I probably wouldn't want my scroll to do that because I need it to like slide really well.
Yeah, and like writing on that is like usually kind of difficult.
Yeah,
'cause you,
I
like,
mean,
sink in.
You could do like the ink pens, like what I have, like the roller, like kind of gel pens,
like a chiseled top marker or something as well.
Oh yeah, those
some like real calligraphy kind of stuff.
Heck yeah. A good sans serif font also.
I don't know. I feel like a scroll requires some like heavy serif font.
Heavy serif. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Like the SpongeBob like the.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Because if you have a scroll and then you just see like Arial, then you're like, ah.
I'm not talking Arial, man. I'm talking about keeping it in the Helvetica family. You know what I'm talking about? Dude, Helvetica.
Which one? Which Helvetica?
Probably Helvetica thin condensed.
I was like, if you say bold, I'm gonna like Madman.
I don't like Helvetica bold or Helvetica black even. They're too heavy. I'm talking about fonts, and I know it was probably a joke for you, but I know a whole lot about fonts. We could do a whole Joey Asked, if you will, about fonts.
And Noah's just gonna sit here silent.
And Joey's just gonna be like, yeah, a really good font has a lot of asymmetry in it, but not too much, because then you get with like a Comic Sans kind of thing where it's like the reason it's so bad is because it's actually so close to handwriting, and it kind of hits that uncanny valley, and people don't like it. And
you're gonna start asking and answering your own questions.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. You should.
You really are your mom.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ginger. It's okay. She's not listening.
She listened to one and we smack talked her, and then she left.
Yeah, she's just like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm gonna go back to. I don't know what my mom does.
And then there's this episode where she's like, okay, I'll give him another chance, and then we talk shit again.
She's like, I'm just gonna leave. I don't like this anymore.
But this isn't Bash Ginger. This is Noah Apps.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm Noah, and I'm here with my best buddy, you.
It's me, the Joey.
The Joey, the one and only. And this time we got a little dark. Not dark.
It's not super dark.
It's like sad. It's not like a happy, like playful, like let's talk about alcohol, or like it's like let's talk about animal rights. Is our little topic.
Fun. So Noah, I just want to be the guy who comes out and asks about the animal lefts first of all, because everybody asks about the right hand, but I know there's a few left-handed animals,
and they're really like underviewed in like the mainstream public sphere.
Okay,
so they really need to
cut this out from the final podcast. So this just had no business being.
You said it, and you're already like, no.
I was like, I said
one time I hop on your bit for you, and you're like, fuck it. That's gross.
I was like, you know what? Nah, this is probably bad. It's not going anywhere.
Oh, probably is like an understatement.
Okay, fair. It is bad. I'm sorry that I led us down this horrible path. Here, let me make a secondary statement. Noah, I like meat.
Me too.
And researching for this episode made me feel really bad about that.
Yeah, no, I think we both, like, after researching this, we're like, we probably shouldn't eat meat anymore.
Yeah, it's not good what we do to them animals.
But I want to start somewhere else. I think I want to start with, like, zoos and pets.
Gotcha.
That's kind of where we'll start out. And then we will slowly evolve into like livestock and how that's handled.
I got you.
And I think the livestock and vegetarianism kind of stuff is we have a lot more for. So that'll probably be like after our ad break, and that'll really be the meat of the the meat of the podcast.
Very funny. It'll be the eggplant of the podcast, because that is also thick,
a nice
and
little
meaty.
substitute.
Yeah, substitute for me. It'll be the tofu, if you will.
Yeah. So I guess I want to start off with zoos. They're a fun little place to go for your little field trips. I'm sure everyone has like mostly good experiences with zoos.
Everybody loves a zoo. The end.
Right?
That's
like,
it.
I didn't want to go that far, but like that's how I feel on the inside. I'm like, who hates zoos?
Yeah, who looks at it and is just like, wow, look at all those animals.
It turns out sociologists hate zoos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as like most people shouldn't necessarily like zoos. I feel like zoos have the same kind of issue that most like educational things have on the outside, which is that underneath all of this like happy goodness, they are a business.
Yes.
And so that's where things kind of start to go wrong, in my opinion. But
Very true.
What do you got to say about zoos, Noah?
I've been to a few.
Yeah?
I'm always pretty pleased. They
How
seem like...
many zoos would you have been to?
So, we're in the Kansas area. That used to be like a thing we did as a family as a kid.
Yeah.
Wichita has a super nice zoo.
Mhm.
I've been to the Omaha Zoo, the Kansas City Zoo, Sedgwick County, or not Sedgwick County.
Cedric is the one which.
Yeah, what's the one by Ellsworth? The
Rolling Hills Zoo?
Yeah, Rolling Hills
one,
Zoo. It's a real small one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've probably been to like a total of like maybe not quite 10, maybe like 8 zoos or something.
Yeah. I'd say I'd probably been to like maybe 4 or 5 zoos.
Mm-hmm.
And in total in my life, I've probably been to a zoo like maybe 10 times.
Yeah.
Like just all in all.
Yeah, I feel like I've been to like the Sedgwick County Zoo multiple times.
Mm-hmm. It's an experience like for children is great.
Mm-hmm.
But then you like get there and you're like, oh hey, this monkey backpack is $70 and I don't think I really want to deal with that right now.
And even as an adult, it's like something that's fun for a little bit. Like, oh, I haven't been in a couple years or something. Like, yeah, that's totally worth it.
Go check up on that animal. See if it's
like,
still
I haven't
around.
seen a monkey in a while. Do they still look the same? Are they evolving or something?
Are they evolving in the zoo?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, our monkey has started using spears. We can't get any zookeepers in there. It actually held one hostage last week. We don't know what to do.
That's weird because he was picking his ass the last time I was there 3 years ago. So
it's crazy.
that's a lot of progress.
He was writing in feces on the wall. Interesting. He started writing equations, doing the math, the trigonometry of how hard he needs to throw this spear. But zoos. That's actually a problem when animals start doing that, especially primates. It is a symptom that they are very depressed and under extreme stress.
When they write on the wall?
Yeah, when they start like using their feces to do things like that.
Oh yeah.
They would generally be in like a cinder block kind of cell with not a whole lot to do. That's usually what begins the process of them starting to write with their feces, is that they don't have any activities. They're literally prisoners in this like horrible little place. Like, of course you're not gonna be happy, you know? No creature would be happy in there.
Yeah, and you say horrible little places. Some zoos try very hard
to
make it seem nice, but there's just like a limit on how much you can do with this like cinder block building. Like,
yeah, and zoos face a lot of negative stuff, just purely because most of them actually operate at a loss. So funding is just like super hard to come by.
They just like literally are a charity.
Yeah, they're there to take care of the animals, but all in all, like I said before, they are a business. So they're just trying to bring in money, and they do that with people, and crowds get people in, and you can't charge very much for a zoo because no one's going to pay like $50 to come and see like the animals, but
to
really
walk
like,
around in a park that has a couple extra things that you've never seen before.
And and a lot of times like all of the quote unquote exhibits with like the animals and like their spaces are really run down and maybe not taken care of. Of course, I'm speaking generally to what you might consider a roadside zoo, which the Rolling Hills Zoo to me like is kind of like on the edge of. But because they are working at a loss, most of their funds actually go to marketing and building up like spectacle to get people to come in, rather than going to things that like the animals could need, like caring for their environments, having interesting things for like the chimpanzees to do, having like the right food for cheetahs and lions, because they actually don't do as well with this kind of like processed material. It's kind of like a mirror to society too. Don't put processed foods inside of your body, because naturally that's not what should go in there, and we see it in these animals that they typically don't do well when you do that.
Yeah, believe it or not, animals like their food in like the kind of natural state that they would have gotten it in nature.
It's wild that they'd want it that way.
Yeah, right? Like you'd think we'd want to eat like a whole apple instead of like mushed up, sugar added
give me that apple sauce, boy. A little bit of cinnamon in there.
It's all about the sauce. Give me that horse meat sauce.
Heck yeah. It's like most of them are getting that. They're just getting like horse meat paste that's like got minerals and whatever put into it.
Yeah, and theoretically the same stuff.
Yeah, it's all the same things, but it's all about like how it's about the presentation. It's about like you got to go to like 4 years of chef school to know how to serve a lion. You don't have to do that. All you got to do is just take what was it, like the San Diego Zoo or Chicago Zoo or somewhere, just they did this study where they fed their cheetahs, like some of them this like minced meat horse stuff, and then other ones they took like a stillborn or I don't know if it was stillborn, but they took a bison fetus and they threw it in there, and the ones who got the bison fetus did a whole lot better. And that's because in the wild they actually need to have these like harder substances. It doesn't like this
like
mush.
the bones.
Yeah, this mush doesn't help them. This actually helps. Having the fetus helps them like dole down their molars and like really work them down so they like can have sharp teeth. As I said, dole down. That's not the right words, but you get. Yeah, I digress. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, make them smaller. Like don't like keep them from like growing too fast, too strong.
Yeah, it's like rodents. You gotta have something to chew on. Really like sharpen their teeth, if you will.
I've seen some like pigs with like tusks that like go back into their forehead and stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's always so hard to look at. I really hate that. It's like, just those poor animals. But because zoos like have all this, like they operate under the guise of education. And that's like their main like point for being like, oh yeah, we're ethical, we care for the animals, all this. But the issue is that a lot of zoos are privately owned, and because of that, they just like are out there for
you
money.
have an objective. Yeah,
it's like and there are plenty of great zoos, like Chicago Zoo, San Diego Zoo, a lot of zoos that are accredited, and so to get under this accreditation is what a zoo should want. And what that means is they are a part of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, which means they can qualify for funding and they can have like animals on loan from other zoos, which then like to a region can draw in more people because it's like, oh hey, we've got this cheetah on loan from this, and come check it out, and help brings new people in and stuff.
If Kansas City's like, we have a new polar bear and we're gonna have it for a year, that would bring a lot of attention for that year.
Exactly, and it makes like the money worth like setting up the enclosure for the polar bear and everything like well worth it, because then you're bringing in more profits as well, and it gets the polar bear into a new environment, and it helps them like, the travel isn't always like the most relaxing. It's hard for even humans to travel like from place to place, but it acts kind of like a vacation per se for the animals. But the main issue with this is there are only 29 roughly, in my research, about 29,000 zoos that are accredited, which means that there's tons of zoos that aren't under this accreditation.
Do you have any idea like what percentage that is, that 29,000?
I actually don't.
Okay.
But I do know that it's not a lot of them. And I realized I forgot to mention. So accreditation means that the zoo themselves have been like thoroughly inspected, and they are like up to code. They have like the proper number of like professionals working there, like zookeepers that know what they're doing, know what the animals need. And
then they have auditors come in every so often to like make sure that things are still where they need to be.
Yeah, it just keeps them like on track and like do what's best for the animals rather than what's best for the business.
For sure.
Which is something that you have to do. I mean, I feel like personally, very strongly, that you have to do if you're a zoo. The number one priority should be like, oh yeah, I'm taking care of these exotic animals that are living here and making things like safe and healthy and habitable for them.
Now, saying all this stuff really draws a connection to me for like secondary schooling, and it's just something I thought about now, where it's like, oh, a lot of them are privately owned and their goal is money and possibly not the original purpose, which would be education in both scenarios. And when you said that they would build like big exhibits to get people to come in and not actually take care of the things that might need to be taken care of, that sounds also a lot like colleges, where they're like, we revamped our business building, it looks so pretty, but like, yeah, you're not gonna have like decent prices or good food out of like in the local area or things like that.
Yeah, no, that's a really
sad
really
connection.
sad. I mean, but then again, it shouldn't be that way. Like,
No.
Drawing this connection, looking at things like, if we as humans wouldn't want this, like why on earth would we want to put animals through these things, right? Like these animals are like sometimes just going through the ringer just to like survive inside of captivity. Like a lot of them do try and do good though. You look at things like the SSP, which is the Species Survival Plan. There's about 500 zoos under the AZA that are taking part in this program, and what that means is they get assigned one or sometimes two of 181 specified species that are on the registered endangered list, and they are actively trying to help them like rebuild their population. Now, out of this success, I wasn't able to find like actual numbers, but they do have like a few token ones, like of course the big ones like the pandas. They finally got the pandas to breed. That one panda like finally stopped eating bamboo and was like, I guess I'll reproduce. But then there's like the black-footed ferrets and all kinds of like other smaller animals. They are currently working on like mountain gorillas, of which there's like, I think I can try to remember. It was either 200 or 500, but it's still like a really low number of how many like are actually out in the wild still, which is crazy. Like 200. Like I can't even think of a town that I've been to that is that
right.
small. It's so wild.
Definitely. So we were kind of talking about like educational zoos, private for profit zoos, and then you switched into ones that might have a more ulterior motive of like rescuing animals, saving species from extinction. Now, I know of some like zoos and aquariums that are like specifically designed for like rescuing injured animals and then putting them back into the wild.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about the success of those?
I actually don't. Do you have anything written down for you?
Not entirely, no. But they do seem like a better plan, because a lot of people want to restructure zoos into something that's not like a forever prison.
Yeah.
But instead is like, oh, you'll get back to home eventually. We'll save your species, put you back in the wild. And I didn't know if there was a chance that being in the captivity throws off their natural rhythm.
It does affect some of them as far as like depending on how long they're in there. I didn't get any actual like statistics out of it, but I do know that it occurs that like most predators that are raised in captivity for too long, once they're released, don't know how to hunt.
Yeah.
It's like that's one of those things that like they are taught like as infants and whatever, or would it be considered? I suppose it'd be like infant for animals, but while they're like little cubs and stuff, they don't learn those like instincts if they're like brought in really young, and so essentially they have to be kept in captivity. But then you end up with some like the condors of California, which are like these ugly birds, but they were down like extremely low, and part of the reason for it was the carcasses of animals they would find, because they're condors that go to eat dead animals. They would have lead bullets in them from like people who were like trying to poach animals or like trophy hunt and stuff, and like would just end up leaving either the carcass or the animal would like run off and bleed to death on its own. And so the condors would come and find these animals, eat them, and get lead poisoning and die. And not only that, but they only have one hatching a year. Maybe that's like if the egg doesn't die, if it doesn't like get broken or something. I think they will lay a secondary egg sometimes, but other than that, it's just like they won't ever do it again.
So they're only like reproducing like one or two offspring in their lifetime, maybe.
Yeah. And then, well, I think they can do multiple in their lifetime. They live a fairly long time.
Okay.
But it's just like it's such a slow process to like rebuild them. So actually, the zoo actually started doing this really interesting thing where they would. I wish I had written it down. It's called like double clutching or something, where they would actually take the first egg of one of these condors, and then the condor would lay another egg, and they would like raise that one. But while that one's being raised, they would raise the other one exactly the same, but they would use like a puppet condor to like do the exact same things. And the reason this works for them is because these birds actually, when they are hatchlings, spend like over a year like super isolated in this cave or in their nest, just not doing anything and just like being fed by their parents. So you're able to do that, and then
it doesn't hurt their social structure.
It really like helps them. Whereas like other animals that do have a social structure, like elephants go to zoos to die basically. Like they live an estimated 17 years, whereas out in the wild they can reach almost 40.
Okay, I didn't realize they live so short.
Like it more than halves their lifespan in most cases, except for like there are a few zoos, like I think it's the Bronx Zoo, like really like tries to strut their elephants, like we have elephants that have like lived for like 38 years, like we're pretty cool, we take care of them.
Some A1 elephants over here.
But the problem is that just takes so much money, because elephants are super social creatures, so I believe they have like just a mini herd there for them,
and they also have so much food, so much space, and it's just difficult and not worthwhile for a lot of zoos.
I mean, and that's just what's hard with a lot of animals. It's like the space requirement for it is massive for them to feel at home and to do like what they need. That's like down in Florida, there's like a whole little island literally dedicated to rehabilitated chimpanzees.
Okay.
And it's like they just have like this massive space, but that's required of them so that they can thrive and like be happy. Cause,
I feel like that's a lot of what the problem with the zoos is the minimum space requirement, and then some of the added stressors from like noises and things that they wouldn't be used to. I don't think you have research on this, but is there like a space, like amount that you think would be enough for like, oh, they're still in captivity, but they have this whole like forest to themselves or something like that? Like,
I think like some zoos do really well, and it definitely depends on like the animal. But like I would say like the minimum space requirement that they like give the animal should be at least like doubled in most cases. And then you get like some really bad ones that are like aren't accredited, that like these roadside zoos and stuff that are literally like, oh yeah, drive through with your car and see our like animals that are, you know, dying. Because they're like given cinder block cages with like one window and nothing to do. And it's like that's horrible. It's nobody should live like that. Like even prisoners aren't treated that bad in most cases. I don't believe. I'm not super familiar with the
not in like standardized American prisons.
But especially not in like Switzerland. I hear Switzerland jails are like just amazing.
They're
just like so nice. But yeah, no, like I feel like we should treat these animals with respect, you know, like they are living, breathing things that you know, whether or not like they're super intelligent, they have a life that they want to lead in the
and if you think of like galactically, like to our knowledge, life is a very rare and magical thing that only occurs in only our scenario from what we know for sure.
This one tiny strip of the universe.
So like we should take care of that, even if they're not like say as special as us for whatever reason that we would deem that to be true. Zoos, some of them try really hard, and some of them do good things. There's the educational value, there's the rehabilitation sometimes. Do you have a way that you could like improve zoos, or that way it might make them worthwhile?
I think like something that zoos could like focus more on is actually making them educational, because a lot of zoos do this thing where they put like the chimpanzees behind glass, and all they have next to them is like, oh, this is the name of this chimpanzee, this is where it's found, and this is its diet, and that's it. So you guys could do way better to like have like tours and stuff, which I realize costs money, but that just means like budgeting to these kinds of things needs to be more like standardized. Something like, and I know that like national parks struggle for it too, but something like a national park kind of budget for these animals. I mean, if we're going to have them in our country, maybe like care for them, you know, like they are, with all like conditions applied, I suppose they are like foreign citizens who have been moved here.
Do you think it would be worthwhile to like establish national parks that aren't within our nation's borders? Like instead of funding zoos, we just fund reserves in like Africa per se, and it's like we're saving the species, but it's not necessarily, we can't see the results.
I think the issue with that comes that like no one nation wants to like deal with that. It's like, oh well, that's over, and
we'll spend our money on something that you may or may not follow through on.
And that's something like you have to talk to like the American taxpayers about. You're like, hey, let's put all this money towards a rainforest.
Let's funnel our money to like Nigeria, and they're like, what?
You're gonna have a lot of Americans who are like toting their guns and MAGA hats and being real upset.
Zoos are a lot for like exotic animals and big scale animals, but then we have our smaller scale animals, our dogs and our cats that we all love and cherish very dearly.
For the most part.
But
I mean, he eats my shoes every now and then, but I'm not crazy about that.
No. He has to go to the bathroom at 4 a.m.
My cat pees in the corner.
That's
won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop.
It's like, stop it, you little fountain of urine! I swear to God, I'm just gonna throw you out the window.
You drank 1 cup of water, and how is it all coming out right now?
How? Why? Stop it! Leave me alone. Just a crazy voice crack right there.
Goodness.
Don't worry about that.
But it has come to my attention that pet ownership may not be entirely ethical. Like, as zoos are kind of caging their animals, people in their own right are caging animals in a more lush environment, possibly, with the chance to go outside and things. But animals are at the whim of their owner most of the time, and depending on how much care the owner wants to give them, kind of determines the lifestyle and the quality of life for that animal. That seems a little unethical. I don't know.
I mean, they're like literally at like the mercy of another being.
If this being says like, I'm gonna go to work and you have to stay in this cage for the next 8 hours. Like,
that's where they live for the next 8 hours. I mean, that's yeah, I don't know. The ethics of that gets really like muddy to me, because
it's something we've normalized so much that when brought to your attention, you're like, no, that can't be right.
Yeah, it's a little tough to like put that into something when like culturally it's ingrained. It's like, oh yeah, this is like my beast that I keep in my home, and this is, you know, it is there, it is part of the family, maybe, like in some cases, but like it is just seen as an item, an object that you own, not that another person per se to take care of. Just a funny little example of this. I actually I witnessed this with like some family of mine. My uncle called like my cousin's cat a thing, and my cousin started crying because it was like, no, it's Mr. Whiskers. It's
He's
not
a person.
Yeah,
like...
it's like he's a person. It's not a thing. And I was like, I think we'd have a lot better world if like things were viewed a little bit more like that. A lot better world for our pets, anyways, because these are our loyal friends.
And that's something that has been becoming more and more true. I've seen a lot about that in the coming years, just animals have been treated better than, like, say, in like the 50s and 60s.
Oh, I'm sure.
When there weren't a whole lot of rights. And I saw one story that animal rights activist to this day remembers that his dad put down his dog because it would be cheaper to get a new dog when they came back from vacation than board it over like the weeks that they were gone.
What?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
So then at that point, it's literally seen as property, and that it's like a draining asset instead of just like a loving creature.
Oh, my heart.
I know, it's so terrible, right?
That's a life you're putting away. Like, I'm sorry. I'm at a loss of like words.
I'm about to be real dramatic.
Like,
I'm sorry.
But still, I mean, like, that's like, oh, it's cheaper to you know, put my kid down and adopt a new one,
right?
Than you know, hire a babysitter for the evening.
Yeah, I think I could train a new one up pretty well to do the same. Yeah.
Or just like, it's like, oh yeah, this kid, you know, he's 4 or 5. You know, I'm just gonna have like a really late term abortion. And just like try again. And it's like like that's really what you're doing there. Because like these animals, like, while their lives are like short in comparison to ours, and maybe their like intelligence is like not as significant, it's still a living, breathing thing. And like we said earlier, it's like life is, in the grand scheme of like the universe, is such a rare occurrence, and for this to happen, it's really it's a crime in my eyes.
Definitely. And it is becoming more so that in everyone's eyes. I noticed that New Zealand classified pets as like sentient creatures now.
Oh, that's
and that
great.
they are no longer deemed property and can't be like treated at the whim of the owner.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, wait, but what does that like entirely mean?
I'm not entirely sure, because then it's like, obviously they can't like
have their own jobs, and
they can't like express their will,
yeah,
and things like that, because they can't communicate and things like that.
It's really hard to draw that line. Like I'm all for like save the planet, save the animals, like let animals have like their rights and such. But it does, like, you know, free will of a pet. Like, I'm not saying in all this that's like, oh yeah, you shouldn't have a pet, your pet should run free outside. It's like, no, I mean, that's, you know, not what we're saying at all, because pets have been bred to be codependent of man.
Yeah, and that's what I felt personally like kind of stung, is like, oh, not how people treat their animals today. Like, a lot of people give their animals a lot of care, and I've had animals and I've loved them, and they seem to have happy, good lives. But yeah, we have created animals that can't function without us, and now they're dependent animals. And even if they could express that they wanted to be with us, it would only be because they couldn't survive on their own, and they would have no other options. I
mean, but isn't that like having an infant, having like a child?
Yeah.
Like, why should you treat your pet any different, you know?
Yeah, and I don't think you should. And I noticed, like, I think it said 32 states to this day have, like, minimum care requirements for pets.
That's fabulous.
And so, like, you can't, like, abuse your pet. You can't, like, neglect your pet the same way you couldn't a child.
Yeah.
And the punishments may be less, but it's still, like, okay, we've addressed the issue. We recognize that pets should be cared for, and they are lives.
Well, that's good. It sounds like we're making progress.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have, maybe this is bad, I don't have anywhere to go. Do you have anywhere to go where people can, like, donate to, like, making this better, or like Like, do you know? I mean, I guess like write your senators if you live
right
in
to
a
your
state.
congressman.
Yeah, like if you live in a state, they like do some research. We don't have the whole list, and obviously we're not.
Yeah, I
gonna
said
read
32
off.
states,
Yeah.
but I'm sure you could find exactly which ones those are.
Yeah, if you live in a state where they do, I believe Kansas does have those laws. But yeah, if you live in a state where they don't do that, write your congressman. Be like, hey, my pet matters, and other people's pet matter too, because it can be like really hard to just watch people just neglect their pets. There's tons of places where people just like chain up their dog outside in like this 6x6 area is all their life will ever be. They never take them inside. They're just out there, and they're just.
I've always felt really bad for dogs like that. It's like, oh yeah, we feed them, we care for them, but like they're outside. They have their little house and their little circle, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
And they seem such angry dogs that no one wants to go near them and play with them.
Yeah, it's like I'd be pretty pissed off at the world too if you just chained me up and I couldn't go anywhere. I mean, they don't have any like they can't express their will, of course. They can't like even if they are barking at you, it could just be like, hey, get me the fuck off this thing. don't like whatever. I grew up on a farm, and one thing that I always liked that was fully expressed was that a dog doesn't belong in a cage or in a kennel. It's like you have that dog and it can roam, and that was what was kind of cool about that too, is we had the space for dogs. We had 2 big dogs, and they would pretty much just like run off. They kind of knew the area they were allowed to be, and they could go anywhere with people. They were pretty good about that, especially like you train a dog right, and they'll like recognize it's like, oh yeah, this is home, I shouldn't leave home. But they had like a good couple miles that they would just like run, well, a couple like miles, like as in square footage, not as in like they would run multiple miles away and then come back. But yeah, they just could like just run around and do whatever. And I'd love it if all animals had that, but I know it's tough because you live in like cities and whatnot.
You say you had 2 dogs. I know you've had 3 dogs, and I don't know. I feel like the last dog, the one not mentioned, was in a cage a lot of the time.
Yes, she was, but she had a really big cage. She was a basset hound, and she had this. It's probably like at least 25 feet on one side, and then the other side was maybe a good like 15 to 20. And so she had like this big area, and then like a dog. What was it, like a dog house, there we go, and everything. And that one, it was really important to us that it wasn't like concrete as well. It's like she had a little bit of dirt to roll around it, and she had a little bit of like space to do some digging and all that. It's like but it can be tough with like dogs like her, because she was really what's the word I'm looking for, she was like a teenager. She loved to run away from home and just like get lost, essentially. Like it wasn't that she was trying to not come home. She just wanted like space to run, and that was great. We would take her on like really long walks and stuff. But like she would run off and then I think just forget which way she ran. She'd get so excited, and so we'd have to like go around and find her, and then once we found her, she'd be super happy and like come running towards us and be like, oh hey, yeah, please take me home. But yeah, it can definitely be tough for people like that. Rebellious teenagers, kind of, as I was looking for.
That's fair. And then there's also like the matter of like dog breeding for pets. A lot of people want a very specific kind of dog because they all like have different like looks and different like specialties and things like that. And that's an area where it's like you should probably rescue. That's what you hear a lot of people say. That's a personal opinion, but I was curious dogs. How your stance was on that.
My stance was, you should definitely go to puppy mills.
Just the ones that are churning out the real like
those
hazardly dogs.
Yeah, I think a lot of puppy mills are like banned in a lot of states now, and like have a ton of restrictions if they are breeding and stuff. Like you can only like breed like once a year or something, or it might be longer than that. I don't know the specific laws on that. But no, I would always go with a rescue dog if I'm gonna like get a pet. It's like, yeah, I wanted this dog who has a troubled past, because I have a troubled past. We're not like, nothing feels better than like going up to these animals who just want to be loved. And loving them, just like giving them what they want. And some of them have like their respective issues, but you work past them, and they're just like any other dog. They just want to be cared for. It's not like they have like malicious intent, So definitely go to your shelter, pick them all up. Pick up all the dogs.
Pick them all up. Make sure you can handle them though, because
have a big enough space. Like I don't know what like the recommended area for dogs is, but I mean like if you don't have a yard, have a schedule that allows you to take them running or
to
like
a dog park
exercising.
and socialize.
Yeah,
And
because dogs also like being around other dogs most of the time. There are some cases where like a rescue dog has issues with other dogs.
yeah, we have friends who they have one dog that's like a little bigger, but it's still a pretty small dog, and they live in an apartment. And they take it to daycare once a week, and it's like, oh, that gets them their socialization, a little extra exercise, and it's like a full day thing. The other dog that they have, that is their vacation, is when the other dog leaves and it gets to be alone for a little bit, because it's an old tired dog who's like, I just want to lay in the sun.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, just cater to your dog's needs. Know what you're getting into.
Each dog is different.
Yeah, if you don't run a lot and don't go outside, and like have a small space, maybe don't get a border collie.
Yeah,
don't
honestly.
get a sheepdog. Like those are dogs that need to be run. They want to be run. And if you keep them indoors all day, they're just gonna get sad and depressed. And like any other creature that can't do what their respective God intended. Their Saint Bernard, if you will. Got him.
Oh goodness. But along with shelters, I know there's push kind of for like no kill shelters. Ones that like try not to euthanize dogs that have been there too long or for behavioral issues. So I was curious on like your thoughts on like the ethics of that, because if you're not killing the dog, then it's sitting in this small cage, even if it's not getting adopted.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
God, that's a tough one.
It's a big gray area.
That's one that I've thought about in the past before, and it depends situationally. Like, I think if there is an animal that is just clearly like suffering all the time, like all it is just like it's not happy, and because it's so unhappy, it won't like allow itself to open up. It's not getting enough care. I think there comes a point when like quality of life dips low enough that it's like it might be better just to let this dog go. I struggle saying that though, because I love dogs and cats enough that's like I wouldn't want that for them, and I would hate for someone to euthanize me just because I'm really, really sad and maybe like lashing out.
Yeah, and I think about like the death penalty with like prisons and things, and I have a hard time like taking a stance either way, pro or con against the death penalty, kind of for the same reasons, where it's like, yeah, a lifetime of like sadness in a cell is no better than like ending it per se. It depends on the person, of course. Yeah. But at the same time, like, give them the option. That sounds nice, but then it's like they don't know, they could be in a bad mental state or things like that.
Yeah, so it's like it becomes like a really hard question when you're thinking about like intentionally taking the life of a living thing.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody really wants to toy with like someone else's life. I guess not anyone. I'm sure there's definitely sociopaths who love to.
Well, yeah.
But as a general rule, people usually care for their life and, want the best for it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone inherently is like a terrible person, like any like normal mental functioning human being. So I would have the same stance on dogs for sure. It's always our dogs and cat and pets that are in these shelters. It's a gray area, but there's a decision someone should make it. I don't really feel comfortable making it ever.
Yeah, I'm not educated enough.
I'll leave that to the big boys who actually have
someone who has a behavioral science degree and a vet tech assistant to like talk over it with.
Like understands that this animal is like, oh, it's not going to get better for them. They're only going to get worse, and that can be really tough, especially in like talking about euthanizing animals, like pets that are just like old or like have like cancer or whatever. It's like, do you euthanize them? It's like, do you just let them live it out? I know like I had a Japanese professor, and he said it was a cultural thing where the Japanese don't euthanize their pets ever.
Oh yeah?
It's like you just let them live out and have like their honorable passing, where it's like they just live out the rest of the life that's in them, and that can be really hard because he had a dog that was just like deaf, blind, like most of its teeth had fallen out. It could like barely walk around on its own. It was losing hair. It's like the quality of life at that point, like what it would constantly get like stuck in places it couldn't get out of, and like couldn't clean itself.
And I think of my parents who, like, when I talk about like death and stuff, they're like, yeah, if something happens, like pull the plug, don't like keep me alive, don't bring me back if I probably should have gone, kind of thing. And so I'd like to think that like the pets would have the same mentality of like, if my quality of life is going to dip significantly below what it was before, like maybe I should,
Yeah, and
it's a case by case.
Yeah,
and it's
it
hard.
is.
Yes.
It's definitely like one of those hard decisions that no one likes to make, I'm sure. But yeah, take it case by case. Think of your parents before you euthanize your pets or anything. Just be like, would my mom want this?
WWMD, what would mom do?
WWAD, what would Amy do?
What would Amy want? Yeah.
What would Amy want? Amy would want a new house.
Of course she would. No, but yeah, that was a sad little dip, but we'll take a little ad break and then we'll start talking about livestock and their lives.
That's less sad.
And we're back.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the ASMR podcast.
Uh-oh. Oh no. The editor's gonna have to listen to that. Gross. No one wants that. Ugh. I just have like such a thing with my ears that I'm like, if I just like hear slurping in my ears, I'm like, that means there's wetness nearby. I need to get out.
Does it ever like tickle? Like it feels like it just tickles like the inner like hairs of your ears. And it's like you're like, oh, get it out, get it off. It's inside of my ear.
Yeah, those noises are like the equivalent of like getting like a wet willy. Like,
yeah, it's like an auditory wet willy. Not about it. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that ad.
Yeah.
Where we paid some bills there.
Right.
JK.
A very, very small bill.
A very small bill. What bill could we pay? We could pay
the electric bill for the spider that lives in our corner. Like,
oh heck yeah! There you go, Spidey.
We kept you warm.
Enjoy that.
Thank us.
Please kill.
It all goes straight to charity.
Yeah, kill the roaches, please. Do spiders eat roaches? Spiders don't eat roaches.
I feel like they'd get what they can.
What eats a roach?
The spider.
Okay.
I don't know who else would.
I don't know what do you eat a roach. I don't know what constitutes
rodents. Maybe like I don't know.
Don't roaches have like diseases and carry diseases?
Like they sure could.
Anyways,
yeah. So we, as we said at the beginning, are like meat eaters, and I'm not gonna say proud anymore, but like meat eaters and proud.
I was once proud, and now I just feel sad. Everything
you see about it is like, yeah, no, it's bad. Like ethically bad, culturally not great, environmentally very bad. So
yeah, I mean culturally, I would argue like our culture sees it as like a good thing for the most part. Like there's plenty of like religions and like holidays and everything just about like, oh, eat meat, eat a turkey on Thanksgiving, eat a goose during Christmas, have a burger every day in America. It's like, it's culturally we have this backing, but then you start to look for any arguments. Any arguments.
Okay, I'm gonna go down a little list of arguments if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I found some. So it's like is it ethical to like eat meat? And one of them is like animals aren't smart. That's one argument. Do you have the counter to that?
Well, some people aren't smart. Do we eat those people?
No, of course not. That's wrong. But then like theoretically a pig could be smarter than a human. Can the pig eat the human? No, that's also wrong. So
is it wrong? I feel like if they enter a battle to the death, you get to eat the other.
I don't know. That still seems a little sketch to me.
Okay, that's getting into some other moralities we probably shouldn't talk about.
Yeah, I'm totally comfortable with murder, but like I don't know, eating a pig.
I'm not gonna eat it.
So my next little argument here is animals are genetically different. So
okay,
like that's why we don't eat the people. Yeah, and that's why we eat the pig is because it's genetically different.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, everything's a little bit genetically different, right? I mean, like a banana is pretty close to a human, but it's still different. We eat a banana. I mean, of course, it's like an argument for like a vegetarian. How dare you eat that banana? Think about what you're doing. It's 98% similar to a human. You're almost eating a person. That's a little sketch. I don't know.
Yeah, and the argument I saw was that like if like aliens came down and like enslaved us and started eating us, we'd be like, that's not okay. Like we're sentient beings and things. Like you shouldn't eat us. And like, well, you're genetically different.
You're genetically different. You taste so sweet. Let me suck them toes.
I've also seen that it's more natural to eat meat.
More natural to eat meat. I mean, technically speaking, like we as humans, in theory, evolved from eating meat and like hunting things, and eating, of course, like plants and foliage as well. But like we came from the tribes, assumedly, that just hunted and ate meat. So I guess I see the stance there.
Yeah.
I for the most part would quote unquote agree with that one. Dangerous to say, but what is the counter argument there?
So what I saw is there are hundreds of species of apes and chimps and such. We are the only ones that are not herbivores. So
like entirely.
Yep.
Oh, I guess that's herbivores only.
So yeah, we're the only ones that are omnivores.
Yeah.
Predators, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems a little unnatural that like we're the only ones who switched.
I mean, I don't know, maybe, but if we've like done it for years and years, I mean, there's cave paintings that like show us hunting bison and whatnot. So I don't know. I think I still side with like it's okay to eat meat because it's natural in that sense.
And I also saw that like there's a lot of like negative health benefits to eating meat as opposed to like a vegetable-based diet. Like, does that make it more natural or unnatural because it like doesn't fit with our body quite as well?
I think there's like some specifics you can pull out of there because like, things like pork and chicken are all actually like easily processed by our body. It's things that are like complex, like red meats that tend to be like.
I think pork
like,
is considered red meat.
Is pork?
I think so.
Well, I guess I'm thinking more like ground beef, like that kind of stuff. It's usually very fatty. It's it's very saturated in these proteins and such. So your body has a hard time breaking them down, and so that gets kind of bad and gunks up your system, which is why burgers are so bad. Well, part of why burgers are so bad. Burgers are bad for a multitude of reasons.
Definitely.
But I don't know. I think there's some things like some meats that are more okay than others per se. And I think even like red meat is more okay in limited amounts. I think what goes wrong is culturally we are just told to continue consuming, and so we just do too much, and then that's how you get this big old belly here. Is you're really like
not very big.
I know it's not very big, but it's on my body, and I see it every day, and I'm like, damn, you big. And
you
it's
use
like,
the modifier very, so that implies that it's there.
I don't like looking at it personally.
That's
and,
fair.
Might become vegan after this just to try and lose it and just to feel okay about existing.
Fair enough.
And for my last 21 years of destroying burgers.
Argument for the eating meat is that it's a big cultural thing, kind of like we said at the beginning, religions, holidays, and then just like general like Americans eat this kind of food. Whereas other cultures do other things.
I'd say that is like the strongest argument for why we can't stop eating meat, because like the hive mind of society is like, no, I'm not gonna get rid of meat. I don't think we're like to that point yet, but you could also like take that, it's like that cultural remark and apply it to like any of the terrible things humankind has done to fellow man. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm a pharaoh, and it's okay for me to kill hundreds upon thousands of people to build this pyramid because it's culturally sound. It's what
we're
we've
on
done.
the top, they're on the bottom. That's how we run things.
That's how it works. Sorry, pal.
I feel like it's one that's harder to refute based on like, oh, like your culture can't like me. It's like, of course we can, but at the same time, it's like, why do you value that thing? And that's a whole trickier thing.
Yeah, I get some really like interesting social sciences and so on.
It's harder to refute, but it's also not as strong of an argument. So.
Yeah, I would agree with that to that point.
And then I also put this kind of goes under culture, but it would affect jobs if we like cut out meat, like a lot of ranchers and things. I know that's the same thing with like the milk industry. Like for a while there, people weren't drinking much milk, so they had to petition and do a lot of marketing so that way dairy farmers could have their jobs. And
got
stuff.
milk, bro.
Yep.
No, I see the value in that, but it could just become like an eggplant farm.
Yeah.
I keep bringing up eggplant. I like eggplant. I've only had it.
I was going to say, you specifically said you've only had it once.
In ramen. Yeah. I have had it multiple times, but I've only had it in ramen.
Okay.
And it was like some good old like spicy seasoned eggplant. It was good. It's like bits of steak if you don't know that's a plant. So I don't know. Maybe we should get some eggplant, Noah.
Maybe
Let's go try some.
Right?
Because
I feel like I'd mess it up. Yeah, I do.
I'll try and cook it. I'll do my best.
Okay. Fair enough. So yeah, there's those arguments of like why you should eat meat. And then I'm looking at the environment stuff. Like we talk about this all the time with like cars and big businesses. Yeah. Like I'm gonna say big animal.
Oh, okay.
The industry, big animal.
Big animal.
big farm, big ranchers.
Big farmer.
They produce a ton of greenhouse gases.
Yeah.
I got this right here. Livestock accounts for 1/4 to 1/3.
No, is that a piece of paper in front of you?
It is a piece.
Were you not making fun of me last week?
I don't have to flip it
notepad?
Like you do. People don't have to hear it.
Excuse me, I have multiple pages.
My paper is all crumpled down.
I have multiple pages. I care about this topic, Noah. Sorry, carry on.
Write smaller. Livestock accounts for 1/4 to 1/3 of all greenhouse gas emissions.
That's a wait,
1/4 to 1/3, so 25 to 33% of all greenhouse gas emissions is from livestock.
So if we just stopped eating cows, we could turn
Cows and
global warming-
pigs
or
and-
cows and pigs. I mean,
I
like,
think
I'm
those are
speaking
the two
generally.
big ones. Is those
Yeah,
two.
it's like if we just stopped eating animals, we could like turn global warming around.
Yeah.
Someone
Very,
tell Donald
very
Trump
much
that
so.
because he's more likely to listen to that than he is to believe global warming. It's just like, hey, if we stop eating meat, then the planet will stop like trying to kill us.
The average family, which I think is like 4 people, emits more gases from eating meat than they do from driving 2 cars.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's weird to think about.
yeah. I'm just like throwing these numbers at
I
you.
still
It's
want a
crazy.
Tesla, but that's so much.
Let's see, what else do we have here? Livestock takes the most land, water, and time to produce, as opposed to, like, I heard like, oh, almonds, they're
I was
sucking
gonna
up
say,
all of our water. It takes so
yeah.
much. That compared to like livestock is like at least half. Like,
Really?
it's still like, oh yeah, it's the worst of the plants for water usage wise.
Yeah.
But compared to livestock, like they just take years and years to like make
Yeah.
a cow to something, and then you don't get to like reap its rewards later, like a tree or something.
Yeah. Oh, that's so wild. I mean, yeah, doesn't an almond take like 5 gallons or something for like
Yeah.
a nut?
Yeah, it's
That's,
something
like,
insane.
That's so much. And to think, just imagine. So I don't know how many people in our like listeners have seen a cow. I lived on a farm, so I've seen many cows. Cows are big.
Yeah.
Like they're not small things. You can get like bulls that are like over 1,000 pounds, multiple thousands of pounds even. They are hulking beasts of the plain.
Lumbering animals.
Yeah, lumbering, majestic beast. I mean, sometimes you look at it like that's not so.
Yeah, maybe like
majestic.
a longhorn
But,
or like a buffalo.
Yeah,
but, like,
Watusi. But like they take a lot of water. Like a creature that big, like you think of like a human and how much like water an active
yeah,
human.
you're
is
supposed to drink like a gallon a day or something around there.
Yeah,
It's like-
I don't think it's a gallon. Isn't it like a
less.
liter or something?
okay, yeah, that seems reasonable.
Yeah, it's like a gallon. I think is pushing it a bit, but yeah, no, like you drink a lot of water if you're active. You're supposed to, and like these are
Even bigger than you, and
Yeah.
they're supposed to drink every day.
multiples of you. If you're like the average, like say 200 pounds, I don't know if that's average, but if you are around 200 pounds, it's like that thing is like 4 of you at the very least. And so yeah, it's gonna drink a lot of water.
Definitely.
It lives and it continues drinking water forever until we kill it. But then yeah, it's so much.
And then the other last stat that amazed me was 1/3 of our land that is growing food is used just to feed our livestock.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
But,
so like coming up on half of our food is just going to feed our other food for later. Like,
yeah, it's like my food eats your food. It's like, yeah, but that's your food too, bud. It's like your food is eating your food, and then you eat your food.
and that you eat
Yeah.
your food and their food.
Yeah,
And
it's just like, via the what is it, the fucking property of division? I don't know.
yeah, it's like everything. The tiers of energy is what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Where this plant, once you eat that, you only get 10% of the nutrients from that it got from the sun.
Yeah.
And then the animal that ate the plant only has 10% of the nutrients of the plant, which is only 100th of what the sun had in the first place.
Yeah. And
And
but
then
that
if
whole
you
thing.
eat a predator, then that only has 10%. Yeah, it gets real small real fast.
Yeah,
And so,
I was thinking of the transitive property multiplication, but that works too.
oh, that's something very different. That's talking about volume versus space.
Yeah, it's fine.
I was trying to be smart.
It's all the same. It's right. It's
They're numbers. They have
They're
to go
numbers.
the same.
Yeah, I'm not. That made me seem. You could cut that out.
Oh, I won't.
But yeah, no, it's like wild. It's because like not only are we spending water and resources to take care of this animal, we're taking water and resources to take care of the food for this animal that then goes into you. And so it only makes sense to just
Just cut out the middleman.
just eat the freaking plants, loser. I'm
Right.
sorry, but that's how it should be. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm gonna cut eating meat after this, but I'm definitely gonna try. Like I'm gonna take it down a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
I understand that.
like
for sure.
like chickens. I mean, even chickens
learn
are
how
treated
to use-
horribly.
Oh yeah, they are treated horribly, and that's like
Chickens
an
get their-
ethical thing. But environmentally, they're the best because you can shove them all into the small place. So then it becomes the ethics of like, do you want to save the environment for all the animals and the people, or do you just not want to save the
Yeah.
chickens? And then it's a whole.
Yeah, so, I mean, like I'll save the chickens for a little while, and then I'm just gonna go completely the other way. But it's like chickens are treated like the worst as far as like egg production too, because
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't even need space to make eggs. It's like, oh yeah, just sit them in here, cut their beaks so that they can't attack each other. Cut their beaks,
That's
their
awful.
face. You're cutting off part of their face. And like make it so they can't peck each other, and then just have them produce eggs all day. I mean, all day. They, good chickens lay like what 2 or 3 eggs a day or something like that. And as soon as they like fall beneath like standards, they just get rid of them, just kill them. It's like that's horrible.
Yeah,
what
it
a
is.
horrible existence. Like life to death can be spent in a shed without any like natural life.
I was kind of amazed that I didn't realize when you declaw a cat, you just cut off the front digit of their fingers, and it's like, oh, you're literally cutting off part of their hand. It's not like cutting the fingernails of like a person.
Nope.
And it's like, that is violent. I see why people are very upset by that.
Yeah, you have to take out the nail bed and everything that like creates that. And so it sucks. I've always had animals that have all their claws and like and stuff. Like we've never, in my house, I've never been like those people who would like do that. I found out I think last year like that's what they do to cats. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm glad we don't do that,
just for a little bit of our convenience, like, oh, now they can't scratch me. Like,
it's like now they can't scratch you, but also now they can't like defend themselves like the animals that they are. Like, I mean, granted, house cat very rarely is gonna like leave the house. Like cats,
but it had like a sense of like mobility and things that it might have lost without the claws. And don't declaw your cats. Instead, like train them to not claw up your shit or have shit that isn't clawable. Give them their things, their space and stuff.
Yeah, like you decided to have a cat, so now you have to deal with the benefits.
You have to adapt. It doesn't have to adapt.
Exactly. Like the cat was born this way. You were born the way you are, and humans were born with the innate ability to alter their environments, and the cat cannot, aside from scratching stuff up, but that's like just what it needs to do to like take care of its claws. And you're just like, I mean, how would you feel? So someone comes up to you while you're cutting your nails, and it's like, ugh, that's disgusting. Stop that. And so they just take a knife out and cut off the tips of your fingers.
I'd be pretty chill with it. I would be upset.
Like, so how am I gonna play Zelda with only 2 knuckles?
I can't reach the Joy-Con. Come on.
Yeah, what the hell, dude?
Super Smash is gonna be a pain.
I used to be so good at it. And people would be like, yeah, sure you were, stubbies. And I'm like,
we have gameplay to prove that's not true.
That's not true. We have not played Smash on stream.
Oh, but we will.
Oh, and I'll kick your ass.
Oh, well, that's probably true.
But anyways, we're getting off topic.
But should we adapt then to get the food, to get the primal food, so we don't have to abuse these animals?
I think that's probably the next step, and it sounds like we're headed in the right direction.
Yeah. So I got these numbers. 2015, there were 3 million vegans. There is a difference between vegan and vegetarianism. I don't know if people know. I feel like a lot of people just think, oh, vegan, and that's just what they assume now. Vegetarian is no meat. Sometimes it's just no. My chair is super squeaky. Vegetarianism is no meat. Sometimes they do like just fish or things like that. I don't know what they classify as meat sometimes.
No, fish or vegetables.
Okay, yeah, they are. They're starch.
Starch.
And then veganism is no animal product, so that includes like dairy, like cow leather. I don't know if that includes sheep wool because you're using them for that.
Yeah, I think it depends on how hardcore of a vegan you are, because some vegans are like, okay, you're shaving them, you're giving them a haircut.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, that's fine. And some people are like, no, because you're keeping them in
pens.
Pens. Which isn't necessarily always true. Most of the time, sheep farmers are pretty good. I mean, in my experience in Kansas, I've seen a lot of like big sheep farms, big sheepa, and they are out there like just on their properties, and they have like a llama looking over them because that's cool. Because llamas chase off predators.
Hey.
But yeah, and then they just give them a haircut and send them on their way. Don't really like hurt them or anything. They're just like, yep, you exist for me to give you a haircut. I feel like that'd be like the best animal to be. It's like, oh yeah, I sit around, I grow hair. Sometimes I get hot, and then this guy comes along and gives me a haircut, and I continue.
It's summer, yeah, I need a haircut anyways.
Yeah.
No, but what I saw was, if we all converted to veganism, this was by a guy named Marco Springman at Oxford. He did a little study and showed if we all converted to vegetarianism, cut out red meat, I think is what he said specifically. If we cut out red meat by 2050, these are some of the effects it would have. And one of them was our animal emissions would be cut by 60%. And then if it was veganism, it'd be cut down by 70%.
Wow.
So,
I mean, that's pretty cool.
So a third of our emissions total would just be cut down by another 70%. So then that's basically like 1/4 of our emissions gone.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty big step towards like stopping global warming.
But veganism is a big step.
It is.
It is. So They also showed if we would just switch to our actual portions that we should have with our meat.
Okay, rather than going ham.
Yeah, just if you went by like the standard like palm of meat per meal, 2 vegetables, whatever. Yeah. It would cut by 17%, which is still quite a bit. So all of our animal emissions would be down 17%.
You know, and you hear these statistics, and it's always like really great to hear. But the issue I feel like it comes down to is like culturally, it's like culturally people get this idea is like, oh, that would never work. It's like, oh, you're not going to get everybody to do it, so I'm not even going to try.
Yeah,
which is wrong. Like it's a flawed way to think about things. You can make a difference just by changing what you do.
You know, I never said the actual number of the veganism. I went to like specify the difference.
Go for it. Like,
it's growing.
Yeah.
From 2015, they had 3 million people, and then in 2018 there were 20 million full-on vegans.
So there's 3 million.
There were 3. Now there's 20. That's over like a 600% increase.
That's crazy.
And that's in 2018. Now it's 2019, so it could still be growing.
It's like word of mouth.
Yeah, and it's a better like lifestyle. Like people are educated, and they're like, oh, like it might be healthier. It might be a little more work. It might be more expensive.
People are hotter.
Yeah.
Have you seen a vegan walking around who's like unattractive? I haven't.
Do you know the most obese country? America.
Wow.
Do you know the most meat eating country? America. Those seem correlation. Maybe they're not, but they definitely are.
I mean, all I'm just trying to say is like market for veganism here. If you become a vegan, you will be hot just immediately.
Yeah, right. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, just be a vegan for like.
You'll be happier, healthier, hotter, mostly hotter.
Mostly hotter.
That's all you want.
Not happier. Maybe hotter comes with happier.
Right. Yeah.
And like healthier definitely comes with happier. Or yeah, because like I feel like when I am like out exercising or I am like eating better, like we've been doing well around here, just eat like chicken breasts and rice and broccoli. Like, that's a great meal. It feels really good. I feel better to just be like, oh hey, I'm not shoving pizza in my face, you know.
Yeah, I'm not having like a fatty greasy burger.
Yeah, and I always like I didn't notice it as a kid. I feel it now that I'm like becoming a real adult. I think like my metabolism's starting to slow down. When I was a kid, it's like, oh yeah, burgers, and fried chicken, heck yeah. And then now I'm just like, I had like Popeyes the other day.
Yeah.
Which for those of you who don't know what a Popeyes is, get out of your house and look it up, you goddamn idiot. It is Louisiana fried chicken. Dude, I got like the worst like headache and stomach ache. I had like a 3-piece like bone-in chicken. Like it was so greasy. It just like it made me want to throw up just having a couple pieces of it. And it's just like all of that grease is going in your body. And if you're like struggling with acne and like that kind of stuff, it's like cleaning up your diet is definitely a great place to start, just for like simple stuff like that. Not to mention like the long-term effects of like better cholesterol, better heart health, and not dying at like 50 from a heart attack.
Your body can have some shock from like if you just like switch, like because it's like, where's all my stuff? I was used to all this. I was finally getting good at getting this oil processed. I was working so hard.
No, you definitely take like the steps and whatever. Like,
well, yeah, I've seen things like diarrhea and stuff just because you have so much fiber in your system now from eating like whole plants and things like that. But like it is better for you in the long run, lower cholesterol levels and things like that.
And I was reading a thing before this that was like about switching to veganism, because after reading all of like everything I've been reading for the last like 3 or 4 hours, I'm just like, wow, I feel like a terrible person. I was just like, well, you know, maybe I will like try to start like this journey. And it's like, yeah, I was like a vegetarian for like a year and a half before I started doing veganism even. And then they're like, it took me 2.5 years to get fully vegan to the point where I'm like, looking back at how I lived before, I'm like, I don't even like, that's not even appealing. And it is one of those things like just getting healthy, like going to the gym takes effort at first, but once you make it a habit, it's like, oh, like I can't, you know, it's just a thing I do. It's not like, oh, I'm a vegan, you know, excuse me. It's like, no, it's like, oh yeah, you know, I eat vegan food and blah blah blah. You carry on with your day, but I will mention, the older you are, the harder it is to do it. So it's best to start these things while you're young, because once you get like too old, I say too old, but like, you know, I think it gets harder like once you hit like your 30s, mid-30s ish. Because your body has been processing these same like foods, your diet for the last 30 years, and so to switch it up to something so harsh is gonna like really take a toll. So definitely take that like vegetarian step first.
Because we were like, oh, maybe we could just like be just chicken, no red meat kind of household, and that would cut our emissions and things like that, and then slowly we could work our way down to more vegetarian meals, more vegan meals.
Depending how long we live together and how long Humorish works out.
Right? You might see us be vegan.
That'd be crazy. That'd be really like wacky if like this is like a podcast, like, you know, it's whatever episode, and then say we get like reach like the 600th episode. It's like we're fully vegan, we're fully like healthy and like
that'd be wild.
Doing great. That'd be crazy, and I can't wait to get to that podcast and be like, I can't believe we thought about being vegan.
What a dumbass.
But yeah, you guys should reach out to your senators and find some good charities to help out like people or help out animals.
Yep.
But
yeah, help out people too. You know,
help,
they need it just as much.
Yeah, no, definitely don't be like, oh yeah, I value animals more than people. No, that's not what equality has ever been about.
No.
It should be I value animals the same as people. So that's what I would say. Those are my closing remarks.
I got one final beautiful, scary statistic. It goes along with if we all switch to veganism, mortality would drop by 6 to 10%.
So you're saying I could live forever?
I'm saying more people would live. I don't know if you like being around lots of people. I know I don't, but there'd be more of them around. They gotta choose if they're around, I guess.
Just lengthen your life.
Yeah, just so many people wouldn't be dying from heart problems and like clotted arteries. Corroborated arteries.
Does that also like account for like people stopping drinking and stuff? Because I will be a vegan, but I'm not gonna stop drinking.
Well, no, that has nothing to do with drinking.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just the red meat.
Well, I was thinking of like the heart disease.
Oh yeah, because we did a little episode
about
that.
that last week. Oh, tying it in. If you didn't hear, you guys should check it out.
Yeah, go on it. But if you like our episodes and you want something real personalized just for you, you can talk to us. We have an email. It is humorish.tm@gmail.com.
Well, you learned it.
We got a Twitter. Talk to us there. We love talking to you guys.
Yeah.
That is humorish_tm, not at gmail.com. I want to say it.
No one knows how Twitter works.
Right. And yeah, if you're on YouTube, yeah, you can like, comment, subscribe. And if you're anywhere else, we're on Spotify, Anchor. Just get us the most convenient way we can. We want to be there for you.
We're here. We're here for you. We'll be here for you next week.
We're omnipotent. Bye.
Omnipotent.
We're watching all the time.
That's how that episode ends.
Yeah. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this Humorish podcast. If you liked it, check out our other content. You can email your topic suggestions to humorish.tm@gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube or on Twitter at humorish_tm or use the hashtag NoahAsked. The podcast music was Watercolors by Vic Davie.